Hi, everyone. So, my topic was position descriptions and performance standards. So, basically, position descriptions being a list of expectations that employers have for their potential employees. And the performance standards will be standards, targets, goals, kind of set by the organization, but not limited to the organization. So, these kind of standards could be set by the state, it can be set nationally, scientifically, but all in all, the standards and targets and goals go hand in hand into the organization. So basically, the organization takes all of these standards and they kind of make it their own, and from there, they kind of list like expectations that they have for their potential employees. So, as I went on my search for my articles, I found one by Laylee Wolf, and it's called The Importance of Having Written Job Descriptions. So I found a lot of articles on my search, but this one struck out to me because she talked about how important it is to have not only your job descriptions and your performance standards, but how important it is to have those things written out. So, the first thing she talks about in her article is like before interviewing. So basically, she discusses how before you even interview someone, um, the interviewer or the the potential employer should have like a written job description, and these descriptions should go by position, and basically, like in the long run, they accomplish a lot of important things. So not only does it protect you and your business, but having a good job description basically protects your employees as well. She goes along to talk about a good job description and what's included in that. So the first thing she talks about is having a job description that helps to maximize the dollars spent. So when you have like an organization or a company or anything of that nature, you've invested some sort of time, some sort of dollar, some sort of just commitment into it. So you kind of want to make sure that you're ensuring that the person who you're hiring has skills that are needed for the job. You kind of want to ensure that like their experience goes with the specific roles. You kind of want to make sure that um, prospective applicants kind of meet like that what the company needs. So basically, you want an asset to your company rather than a liability. You want that the person who you hire adds in kind of expanding your company and helping it run smoothly than to kind of like lose or take a loss like financially. So that's the first thing she talked about. She says how a good job description also acts as the foundation of interview questions. So interview questions could kind of stem from what it is you're looking for in your organization. She also talks about how having it written out discourages employees from refusing to do something because it's like not their job, or you didn't mention this at the time of my interview, so I feel like I shouldn't have to do it. So if you have this written out on a piece of paper before the other party can sign it, they should have already kind of read. I'm sorry. They should have already kind of read through your job description. And if you've done a good job at bullet pointing everything that you expect from them, um, this document will kind of serve as like a protection from it's not my job. So if you hire someone in 2010 and in 2011, they kind of feel like, this is not my job. You could always refer back to that document. So it helps you in that. And she says that it serves also as a good legal document. Basically on the side of the employee and on the side of the employer. So let's say the employer fires an employee because they didn't do their job, like they didn't do a good job at their job, like they didn't do it well. The employee could kind of take this document and say, hey, like we didn't discuss this, and they can use that document to their benefit. On the other end, if ever an employee wanted to file like some sort of lawsuit or something against the company, the employers or the organization or the company could kind of have this document and say, hey, like we highlighted this and we discussed this, and it's kind of fair game. So, like, they can use it as protection in a lawsuit. She goes on to explain three things that you should include in your job description. So, you should include the primary function of the job, how the task will be carried out, and the necessary skills that you need to perform in that job. It shouldn't be limited to that. You should also anticipate employee growth and kind of talk about, like, over periods of time, what it is and in what it is you want and in what areas you've expected for your potential employee to have grown. It should not only be limited to that, but you should also, like, not stick to, like, an analysis of the position, like, we want someone who's hardworking and we want this and we want that. You should also address, like, potential questions that may come in the future. So there's certain, like, scenarios that won't be applicable for someone's, first couple of months at the job, but later down the line, they can encounter this. So you kind of want to leave room to address potential questions about the position. So that was kind of cool. She talks about what your job description should include. So first, you should include the job title, clarify the position, and then you also want to give it, like, a rank or level. So it's also nice to know, like, okay, if I'm going to work as the manager or I'm going to work as, an administrator, am I going to work as, you kind of know your hierarchy in the beginning. So you kind of, like, build this kind of, like, knowledge and understanding to what it is you will be doing. She also talks about how you should list the statement and the purpose of the objective. So basically, in 3 or 4 sentences, you want to talk about the general purpose and objective of the position. What it is you want to get out of the position, what it is the company wants to get out, and how this position basically kind of, like, coexists with the other positions, and what kind of unique things make this position kind of different. You also want to give the job description. So basically specific duties. And then you want to give tasks, but not just tasks. You want to make sure that you've put those tasks in, like, in an order of significance. She also talks about experience and skills needed. So there are some positions in the organization where you're going to need your 3-4 years of experience, whereas there's other jobs where a few months or, just a fewer amount of years is good enough for the position. So you kind of want to identify those, like experiences that you want, like the time frame that you want people to be experienced by. You also want to talk about skills required for a job. So this kind of means, like, if you have an organization or a company, and this organization and company is kind of like, we function with all iPads and MacBooks and, things of high tech and digital. You kind of want to mention that in the job description, because not everyone is as high tech, like, savvy as the next person. I know for myself, I'm not tech savvy at all. So it'll be, like, really nice to know that I need to know how to, utilize technology at this level, for me to perform, my best at the job. So then I could use, like, my discrepancy if I want the position or not, or if I'm a good fit, Also, you want to give a description of an ideal candidate. So, you've given kind of a list of what it is you want, but you kind of want to sum it up and say, like, instead of saying, we want a hardworking, punctual person, you can say something as, an ideal candidate, clocks into work 15 minutes before and has the ability to work hard and to get tasks done before the shift is over. You kind of give scenarios of what it is a candidate that you would hire would have. So you kind of just don't want to give the skills, but you kind of want to put that into a perspective. So, like, an overall scenario. And then you obviously want to give kind of, like, the work location, the schedule. So you want to give the address, where they'll be working, the office, or will they be working in this room, or whatever they'll be doing. You kind of want to give days and hours that, maybe vary. And you also want to include like overtime or holiday. Like that's a nice thing to include in your job description so that it's not a week before Christmas and I'm planning my trip to Mexico and I'm on the schedule for Christmas Eve. So it's nice knowing that you guys do open and do operate on holidays and you do offer overtime. Okay, and the last thing she discussed, which was pretty cool and, was other duties assigned. So she basically says that after you kind of made your own job description, you've written down your work location, your schedule, you've written down the job location, salary, you got all of that down. You kind of want to say in other duties assigned. And this will basically kind of serve as there's kind of gaps in people's jobs. So you have let's say you have someone who's like the treasurer and you have someone who's like the event coordinator. And there's like a middleman in between that. And it could kind of be on the event coordinator and it could kind of be on the treasurer. But you saying other duties assigned, you're kind of leaving like the gap that's in between those two different duties open to either position. So we we have the right to ask, either person to get this middle job done so that the overall duty can get, done. So that's that for the article. So I hope you guys gained something from it. And my 3 questions are, firstly, what kind of things would you include in your position description or performance standard? So just like what kinds of information would you include? What types of discrepancies would you include? Just like how would you write yours? My second question is, what kinds of attempts would you make in ensuring that potential employees understand what it is that is expected of them? So you kind of had your interview, you kind of given them the information. So at this point, what do you kind of do to make sure that you guys are, to touch bases? What would you do? And lastly, should employers reserve the right to ask employees a task that was not mentioned in the job description? So if you're asking me to sit at my computer and do a certain task, if there's a task needed outside of my job description, do you as my employer have the right to ask me to do it and it's not in my job description? So I'm excited to hear what you guys say and let me know if you have any questions.